Hey everyone, this is Carrie with the Welty Environmental Center, and today we're going to be talking about environmental artist Andy Goldsworthy. An environmental artist is an artist whose work kind of deals with environmental topics and subjects. The goal of most environmental art is to get us to think about and interact with nature and the environment in different ways than we already do. Andy Goldsworthy, who we're going to talk about today, only uses natural materials that he finds in the environment when he's making his sculptures. First, we're going to talk about Andy Goldsworthy and we're going to look at some of his work. Then after that, we're going to go out into Big Hill Park and try to make our own Andy Goldsworthy-inspired art pieces. Let's get started. This is Andy Goldsworthy. He was born in Cheshire, England in 1956, but grew up in Leeds, England. When he was growing up, he worked as a farm laborer, which is where he draws a lot of his inspiration from for his artistic process. Goldsworthy says, "A lot of my work is like picking potatoes. You have to get in the rhythm of it." When Goldsworthy goes out into nature to create his art, he doesn't bring anything with him. He only uses the materials that he finds in nature to construct these really elaborate sculptures. He then usually takes pictures of the sculptures that he makes so that he can show them to other people. Goldsworthy has used anything from icicles, flowers, leaves, stones, and twigs to construct his sculptures. And the reason he needs to take pictures of them is because his artwork is what is called ephemeral. If something is ephemeral, it means that it's only going to exist temporarily. And that's the case with pretty much all of Andy Goldsworthy's sculptures. They're either destroyed by nature quickly, like some of his ice sculptures, which would melt, or very, very slowly. Take, for example, this stone wall that he made at Storm King Art Center in upstate New York. The stones are just balanced on each other, but they wind very tightly around the trees in the forest. The idea is that eventually the trees will grow large enough to where they'll knock the stone wall down. Andy Goldsworthy's sculptures get us to think about how nature is always in the process of changing. Things change fast or they change slow, but nothing at all is permanent in nature. Now that we better understand the art of Andy Goldsworthy and how it affects our view of nature, let's go out into nature and make our own Goldsworthy-inspired sculptures. All right, I'm heading off into the park to make some Andy Goldsworthy sculptures. So I'm kind of just going to keep walking here until I find some sort of material like stones or sticks or fallen leaves, whatever, anything that catches my eye that I want to make a sculpture out of. And remember, it's got to be from the natural environment. So if you find a Pringles can laying on the side of the trail, that probably, you probably wouldn't see that in an Andy Goldsworthy sculpture. So let's also remember that we don't want to be disturbing anything that's already living to get materials to make our sculpture with. Like we don't want to pick leaves off of trees or kind of pick leaves and other things like that off of plants. Let's only use things that we find in nature and that aren't kind of disturbing living plants or animals that are in wherever you're going to build your sculpture. All right, so this is the first thing that caught my eye. It's just a big pile of kind of kindling and dead sticks and things like that. I think that this would be the perfect thing to make some nature art out of. So this is my first Goldsworthy sculpture. It's made out of just these sticks that I found in this big pile right here. And one of the things I noticed as I was making this was how much you have to pay attention to balance when you're making something like this. It really kind of makes you pay attention to how the whole sculpture is connected to itself. Okay, I'm heading into the woods in Big Hill Park now, and I feel like I really want to find some stones or like fallen leaves or something to make my next sculpture. So I'll see what I come up with. Okay, here's my second Goldsworthy sculpture. It's a lot smaller than the last one I made. Might be a little hard to see in here, but I kind of just took all these fine little twigs I found and made a little dome out of them, and then I made like almost a little ball of dead leaves that were just on the ground and suspended them in the air. One thing I sort of noticed while I was making this one was that you really have to spend a lot of time just handling and feeling the different materials that you're working with. It really makes you kind of almost get to know the material, and maybe leads you to understand nature a little bit more than you did before. Thank you guys so much for discovering the work of Andy Goldsworthy with me today. I hope you guys have fun going out into nature and making your own Goldsworthy-inspired art. And if you feel like it, you can take a picture of your Goldsworthy sculpture and post it to the Welty Center's timeline on Facebook, along with the hashtag GoldsworthyBeloit. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.